Welcome to the Talking Poem Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Green, and I have a treat for you today. I've been asked several times, in fact, a lot more than I was expecting to be asked, whether or not the ads in the show are real, and I just wanted to clarify, hopefully once and for all, that yes, the ads are totally 100% real. As a poet and a teacher, I feel like I deserve to live the high life, and the ads have now brought me closer to my goal of owning a yacht. I'm 1/1,000,000th of the way to owning a yacht, so I'm very excited to, once I have all that, to go to WB Yachts and buy my dream boat, sailing to Byzantium. I can't wait to take it out on the Lake Isle of Innisfree and have a blast. So here you go. This is the treat. I have lined up all the ads that I have recorded, with a couple of brief exceptions, I think, all in a row. So if you enjoy bad jokes and occasional good jokes, here you go. If not, I don't think there is a pause or stop button on your phone, so you're locked in. And if this seems self-indulgent to you, I understand. However, last week I had a great conversation only to realize that I hadn't hit the record button. So self-indulgent is where I am right now. Enjoy. In this stressful day and age, where do we find the time to take care of our bodies? That's why you should head to Lucille's Yoga Studio. She focuses on the most important part of the body, the hips. She has plenty of space to move around in, and after a few sessions with her, you'll have free hips that go where they want to go and do what they want to do. Don't waste time on downward dog and mountain pose. Get to the studio that gets down to business. We guarantee that by the end, you'll be able to put a spell on a man and spin him like a top. Guarantee not valid in the lower 48. Okay. So we all know that one of the hardest things to do in life is naming things, whether it's a boat, a poem, a novel, or a child. There's so much pressure to get it right, but finally, there's a way to make it easy and earn the respect of your peers. Shakespeare. Think of everything named after Shakespeare: Infinite Jest and Pale Fire, children named Violet, pets named Tybalt and Mercutio. Are you writing a fantasy novel in need of a title? How about Fall Thy Edgeless Sword? Writing an autobiography? How about A Most Notable Coward? Do you need a name for a new salad recipe with lettuce and cauliflower? How about Heavy Lies the Head that Wears the Crown? Whatever needs a name, Shakespeare takes all the struggle out of it, and your educated friends will think of you very highly. I'm not only reading this advertisement, I use the product as well. Take it from me, Charlie Green, the cream-faced loon. Do you have a problem with flies in your death rooms or in your funeral parlors? Have you been dealing with narrow fellows in your grass? There is a solution for you. Amherst Pest Control. Call for Emily. She won't answer the phone, but she will kindly stop for you if her notice sudden is. Finally, a humane way to deal with all of those pests. Call 591-1096. That number is fake. Do not call it. It may actually be someone's phone number, and I don't want you to bother them with a very silly joke.
That is like peak hilarious Charlie Green.
We are very lucky to have sponsors in each episode because I am very lucky to have connections. Like me, you have too much stuff. Houses and rooms are full of perfumes. The shelves are crowded with perfumes. Where are you going to put all of it? Bags of leaves and grass, multiple editions of the same book, reviews you've written of your own book, long lines, crowds of men and women attired in the usual costumes, democratic vistas, America singing, the impalpable sustenance of me from all things at all hours of the day, the similitudes of the past and those of the future, the glories strung like beads on my smallest sights and hearings, on the walk in the street and the passage over the river, the varied carols you hear, the armies of those I love, life immense in passion, pulse, and power. Where are you going to put all this stuff? The answer is simple. Bring it all on down to Walt's Storage. That's right, Walt's Storage. We contain multitudes. First, a brief ad break, and we have mentioned politics a little bit. This is our first political ad, which I hope doesn't shed us any listeners. It's from the committee to re-elect Bob Frost as county assessor. Everybody knows Bob's qualifications. He's been acquainted with the night. He's versed in country things. He knows which roads have been taken and which haven't, whose woods are whose, property lines, which fences can be built there to make good neighbors. He's been a census taker and a swinger of birches, all the experience you need in a county assessor. Now, he's quite aware that some might criticize him for being assessor for so many terms, as he is quite old, and he understands your concerns about politicians of advanced age who might freeze up in a press conference or forget where they are. But Bob Frost is whole again beyond all confusion, and Bob Frost has promises to keep. This position is his avocation and his vocation. He is aware that nothing gold can stay, so this will probably be his last or maybe penultimate term. Who's to say? So please vote Bob Frost for county assessor. It would be a real gift outright. In honor of your visit today, the podcast is brought to you by the BBC4 show Antiques, Isn't It? With John Keats. Do you have something potentially valuable you'd like John Keats to assess? Maybe a family heirloom or a garage sale find? John Keats can appraise anything from the hushed casket of your soul to a draft of vintage to a dusty old urn or a collection of ancient Greek sculptures on long-term loan to one of melancholy's cloudy trophies hung to a translation of Homer. John Keats always gives his honest appraisal. As he always says, beauty is truth and truth beauty, and all ye need to know is what beauty is worth. And one reminder, please stop asking him to appraise any vast and trunkless legs of stone. That's Antiques, Isn't It? On BBC4, followed by Oi, Booze and Snoggin.
So. What? What's going on?
All right, it is time for us to transition into the games. But first, we do have an ad, and our ad today comes from Taco Bell. As we all know, Taco Bell has supported the arts for many, many, many years, and they would like to reemphasize their support of the art of poetry. They invited a wide variety of poets to take part in this project. One is Mary Oliver, who writes, "What will you do with your one wild and precious life? Live Moss." Another is John Milton, who writes that to justify the ways of God to men, you have to think outside the bun. We have also, of course, Wallace Stevens' message, Notes Toward a Supreme Taco. And if you would like to support Taco Bell in its support of the arts, please visit your local Taco Bell today. As Ezra Pound says, you can order in the app Orishan of These Faces in the Crowd. Offer only valid in Estonia. Your face says everything I need to know.
That was the pinnacle. I think that's the pinnacle of your humor. That really just chef's kiss. That was awesome.
Somehow the pinnacle of my humor is also rock bottom. It's so. This transition makes no sense. I'll cut this. It's time for first an ad. I'll go ahead and warn you that my sense of humor is not for everybody. We'll see if it's for you. We have as an ad this week the TMZ spinoff TMP. You want all the hot goss on your favorite poets and your least favorite? We've got it, and we're going to spill the tea. Who thinks his mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun? Whose daddy issues have her feeling like she's living in a brown shoe? To find out, watch TMP. Who had some horses? Who so lists to hunt? We know where is a hind. Watch TMP. Who tried to fill someone's compact and delicious body with chicken paprika? Who wasn't grateful to his father for warming the house on winter Sundays? What did he know? What did he know? Who watched the best minds of his generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked, and did nothing about it? For all the answers and cattiness you can take, watch TMP, now on the E! Network, appearing after E! News and P! News. Before we turn to the poetry game, we do have an ad. Appropriate to your visit, this week's episode is brought to you by the Canadian Tourism Board, which invites Americans to come to Canada to compete in the annual competition for American visitors. They shoot poets, don't they? The premise is simple. Americans are asked to name 3 Canadian poets. The first to name 3 wins a bag full of loonies. Up to now, no American competitor has ever named 3 Canadian poets. They usually name Margaret Atwood and Anne Carson, then get stuck. But every competition must have a winner, so after everyone has named 2 poets and can't come up with a third, it becomes a dance marathon competition. The last couple standing then compete one-on-one until one falls unconscious. They shoot poets, don't they?
Am I going to be crying? Or
No. Well, you may be crying. Let's hope you'll be crying laughing first at our ad break. This week's episode is brought to you by Nissan. Do you remember that there was once a Nissan Stanza? Nissan is back with a whole new line of poetic vehicles, the Cars Poetica. Don't worry. These won't guzzle gas. In fact, they are environmentally friendly, like the Nissan Whitman. After all, the body's electric. Chevy has the Volt, but now Nissan has the Volta, the car with the world's best turning radius. You will also love Nissan's great new car, the Kermis. The wheels, they go round and around. The squeal and the blare and the tweedle airbags. The Nissan metaphor will transport you to a whole new world, and the Nissan Seizura can stop on a dime. In Nissan's line of Cars Poetica, yes, this was a challenge to see how many dumb puns I could fit into one. In Nissan's line of Cars Poetica, you'll never be bothered by traffic and jamments. You'll love their couplet holders. These cars come with quat-train drives. Instead of rack and pinion steering, these cars have rag and bone shop steering. On top of that, they have impeccable additional insurance coverage. Should you have an accident, they'll send out one of their agents to describe and transcribe the scene. That's right. These are their top people, experts in wreck phrases.
Oh, you've outdone yourself with this week's ad, Charlie. I've been enjoying the ad, but this is next level.
Oh, thank you. Don't drive a Toyota Tercet. Nissan hopes you're excited about this collection of cars. I know I am. I'm going to transition us to the silliness if you are ready.
I think I'm as ready as I ever will be.
Okay. I'm going to quote another email of yours where you said, I doubt you could sound like a fool, directed to me. So here we go. I'm going to contradict that. Before we get to the game, we do have an ad. Today's episode is brought to you by Blind Homer's Escape Room, opening next summer in Ithaca, New York. Fun. Goddess, sing the fun of Achilles at Blind Homer's Escape Room. Do you want some time away from the kids, a few hours or say 20 years? Then come on down to Blind Homer's Escape Room. When you enter, our hostess will give you clothing, food, and drink before you float down our wine-dark sea to the first room you have to figure your way out of. You'll have to escape a cave in which you've been trapped by a giant. Never fear, it's just a man in a giant mascot suit. In another room, you'll have to escape while tied to a mast, and pop music of the early 2000s blasts on the speakers. Our food court, the Lotus Eaters, has everything that you could want, though be careful not to consume the wine and cheese that has been drugged by Circe. We do want to reiterate some issues with the parking lot. Yes, when you return to the car, you will find your mother's suitors surrounding it, but the owner assures people that's simply part of the park experience. And also, if you drive a Honda Odyssey, please don't drive it to the park. It will only cause confusion. So come to Blind Homer's Escape Room, located at a hidden harbor in Ithaca.
I love it. It's excellent. It's great. I'm reading the Odyssey in one of my classes right now, and in the other one in Greek, we've been reading poetry related to the Cyclops. So
Oh, wow.
it could not have been more perfect.
As always, we have an ad, and today's episode is brought to you by the estate of Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe is not only one of our best-known American writers, he's one of the best-known American brands. And we're proud to announce that the estate of Edgar Allan Poe has reacquired the copyright to all of his works. So for a small fee, you can become linked to one of the world's most recognized brands. Years ago, Baltimore's NFL team took advantage of this with their mascot, the Ravens, a fabulous tribute to the city in which Poe died, which Poe would obviously appreciate. And now that the estate of Edgar Allan Poe has these copyrights, all kinds of organizations are joining in. The Baltimore City Police are now known as the Baltimore City Po-Po. There are Annabelle Lee jeans and Amontillado builders whose walls are so well built no one could hear a scream coming from behind them. Not to mention others that you may have heard about. Yeah. There is the upcoming documentary about 2000s R&B, The Fall of the House of Usher, the luxury lingerie boutique, The Bust of Palace, and of course the murder mystery spinoff of RuPaul's Drag Race, Murders in the Rue Morgue. So take advantage now of this brand opportunity. You too can join such content creators as Buck Wanders, who teaches you how to identify deer by their rears on his YouTube series, The Telltale heart. All right. Anything else you want to say about this poem before we turn to the silly portion of the recording?
Oh, let's get silly.
Before we get to the game, we do have an ad. Has this ever happened to you? You have a single-minded, murderous obsession with a beast that serves an enormous symbolic purpose. Say, for example, a pesky whale. But no clothing stores know how to suit your style. Are you a grand, godlike man who nevertheless has his humanities, yet no shop sells your fashion? Then come on down to the Ahaberdashery. They have everything you need, from alienated narrators to weapons that can be interpreted as phalluses. Are you tired of overpaying for 2 shoes when you just need 1? We accommodate all piratical peg legs, especially those made of whale jawbone. We'll help you show off your gams. And for all of your shopping needs, the Ahaberdashery has many catalogs. Seize the day and trust the Ahaberdashery, where we will deck you out and at an affordable price. After all, we always have sales. So go on down where we will style you for your murderous revenge. And if you're a little tired and need a boost, great news. Every Ahaberdashery location is right next door to a Starbucks. All right, before we get to the game, we do have an ad. Forget about using mass transit. Forget taxis, Uber, Lyft. Forget Dickinson rides. None of these will stop for death. But one company will stop for death and ferry you wherever you need to go. From one of the world's richest men, Dante Alligator, comes Virgil Rideshare. Whenever you need to get downtown or you're in a dark wood in the middle of your journey through this life and the straight way is lost, Virgil will get you where you need to go. There's no place Virgil can't get you, and you don't need to abandon all hope, ye who enter Virgil's Rideshare. Eventually, you'll get to paradise. Virgil Rideshare would like to address some complaints they have received. One is about the driver circling too much. Virgil Rideshare only follows the best routes as suggested by our GPS, God's punishment system. Also, some riders have complained that Virgil drivers take them through the worst neighborhoods where they see horrors upon horrors. Well, to quote the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you get what you need. And you can take Virgil Rideshare's Celebrity Tour. Where else can you see Homer, Helen of Troy, and Cerberus? So call Virgil Rideshare. It's divine. Before we get to the game, we have an ad. And Carolyn, I have a question for you. Have you ever bought tickets using various resale apps like SeatGeek or StubHub?
I have not, but I know people who have.
Okay. Well, have you been scoping out the lowest ticket prices to see public readings by British Romantic poets? We know you're bothered by the high cost of seeing the reanimated dead perform, but that's because you've been using the wrong apps for buying tickets. Forget SeatGeek. It's time for you to use KeatsGeek. KeatsGeek keeps its prices low so you can Byron and re-shell e-tickets to your heart's content. KeatsGeek guarantees you'll get your money and your word's worth. And they don't sell tickets with obstructed views. Your sightline will never be blaked. Nope, I'm sorry, that's a typo. Blocked. Forget those other apps with their rude wasting of old time. Quit what mad pursuit of expensive tickets and join what wild ecstasy at KeatsGeek. That's KeatsGeek. All ye know on earth and all ye need to know in the App Store. Because oh, good. Suitably funny for you. Good.
I love puns. I wish I were good at coming up with puns.
I will say it's a curse, mostly because my brain is kind of always, there's a part of my brain always devoted to coming up with them. And it's not always conscious. It's just, it spits them out. It's not great for conversation. Before we get to the game, today's episode has an ad, as always, that is brought to you by the Revised Rhyming Dictionary of Contemporary Slang, 22nd edition. Older poets, are you tired of sounding like a fuddy-duddy? Are your students and children still bringing up the time you tried to rhyme getting jiggy with it with doing figgy whippets? The answer is here again in the 22nd edition of the Revised Rhyming Dictionary of Contemporary Slang. Since the first edition was published in 2017, It has helped poets over the age of 25 keep their poems sounding on fleek. No poet wants their work to be sus, so give your poems a glow up. No cap. The revised rhyming dictionary of contemporary slang will make your poems bussin' and give your reader all the feels. Your poems won't be mid, they'll help you have that riz. That's the revised rhyming dictionary of contemporary slang 22nd edition. And look out next month for the 23rd edition. All right, the ads are basically my my place to get off really dumb jokes.
I was like, wow, holy. I was like, there's no way that's real. That sounds like my dad after we taught him the word yossification. That's so funny.
But before we get to the game, we do have an ad. Poets. Everyone knows you have the most exhausting job. Not only are poets the unacknowledged legislators of the world, they have to forge in the smithies of their souls the uncreated conscious of their race. So you need to stay hydrated. But Powerade and Gatorade are just too sports-centric, and they don't give you the zing that you need to keep writing. Fear not. The answer is here, created by parent company Well-Red Bull. Bish. Named for Percy Bysshe Shelley, Bish will quench thy thirst and thy fiery tears. It brings fresh showers for you thirsting flowers. Art thou pale for weariness of climbing heaven and gazing on the earth? Then throw back a 20 ounce of Bish. Now, Bish doesn't have electrolytes per se, but it'll keep your mind and your pen moving. Even if you've been traveling through the desert from an antique land, one gulp of Bish will have you ready to scream, "Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." I've been out of the corner of my eye. I have seen. That's. I do have to give my wife a hat tip for steering me towards Percy Shelley. My original idea for the ad was for Frankenstein's Monster energy drink. All right, on to the game.
Why do I have Amira, why do I have a feeling that you came up with the idea of the silly ads first and then you just built the podcast around those?